can we start first about this issue with the FSM? Can you tell us about what your thoughts are on the letter that the FSM Consul General's office gave you?
Sure. Well, for the life of me, again, I'm still perplexed. If there was a fellow Chamorro that was languishing in a foreign prison, and the head of that country or someone in position of power gave them commutation and paid for a ticket back to their home country, such as Guam, I would look at that and welcome them back. For whatever mistakes and whatever harm they did in a foreign country, I would try to incorporate that Chamorro back to Guam and see what we could do to turn his life around. Whether it was reconciling with his family or looking towards rehabilitation and getting a second chance in life. So for the life of me, I'm perplexed. At the same time, what I'm seeing here with the letter, that's the question we had asked two representatives of the FSM government. Was this something that would be required of all FSM citizens that were coming and going from their nation? And it became very clear that when it came to identification and certification of citizenship, that was what they were requested to do, there's a whole new separate list of requirements. So they've established this separate class, and I guess this separate class is those FSM citizens who have made a deal or a contract with the governor of Guam, that their sentences are commuted. They're free men. And with that, before their own home country will accept them, the home country requires a whole listing of requirements. So there is a double standard, and I guess I would suppose the FSM government has decided that for a certain class, particularly those that have been convicted of crimes in Guam, there will be a different litmus test for admission into their home country. I'm still perplexed, but with that, we will continue to move forward to see what we can do to ensure that treaties are kept, that the laws of Guam are adhered to, and the bottom line is that the people of Guam will be kept safe.
So you're saying that originally your administration had a conversation with some FSM officials about what's required in order to repatriate an FSM citizen?
It's been always a process of what was required for citizenship. That was the question. You can ask all the philosophical questions you want on their status in Guam, what they did, but bottom line, had nothing to do with it. It's been a process where a citizen of a nation, there are certain requirements for that citizen to be brought back to their homeland. And obviously, they've set up a whole different rule book on what those requirements are. And again, as far as I'm concerned, it sure looks like is that they don't want FSM criminals or those that have committed crimes in Guam back in their home island or home nation. And again, as I alluded to in the beginning, if it were in a separate issue and I saw Chamorros that were locked in a prison in a foreign country or foreign land, and they were given the opportunity to come back home for a second chance, I would do a much different thing than the leadership of the FSM government has done.
Do you think the FSM government is asking too much by asking these requirements? Some of the requirements are, I believe they want to see the actual commutation agreements.
Yeah. You know what it is? Everything they're asking, again, how they've changed the rules on what citizenship is. Again, if you are a regular FSM and either a tourist that came to Guam or is residing in Guam, very simple requirements, whether it's a passport or a copy of a passport or birth certificate. Yet now that is completely changed. And there's no rational basis to it. What is that saying? What does it have to do with the price of tea in China? There is no relevance, there is no connection between establishing citizenship and the proof of citizenship, and whether it is a hardworking FSM citizen who lives in Guam, who wants to visit their relatives back in the home country, whether it is an FSM citizen who decided to go on vacation to Guam and do a little shopping and coming back and forth, or as in the past, if, again, they did allow it for me, at least for until now, establishing those same criteria on proving citizenship for convicts that were commuted by myself as governor, and now we're free men, free to head back and get a second chance in their own homeland. And again, I see no rationale behind it other than they do not want him back.
How's it going to impact the selection process in choosing these convicts to go to?
The selection process?
I guess, well, yeah, right.
It doesn't. I'm going to continue to move. One of the things that has occurred, we're going to seriously look at all the questions that were asked. And of course, there's a lot of bureaucracy involved. Like I said, it has nothing to do, again, as I said, with the price of tea in China. But, you know, we're going to accumulate all that information. At the same time, we've finally gotten, after years of pleading with the federal government in separate areas, either getting additional funding for Compact Impact, or, hey, federal government, why are these folks keep on getting arrested and convicted and arrested? Why aren't you deporting them? We haven't had much success. It appears now that the federal government and Homeland Security and ICE is finally listening. And they've worked with us, particularly these two individuals with a detainer. I've given them a conditional commutation, and now they are the responsibility of the federal government, and at least now the federal government is paying for their share or their stay here in our accommodations in our penal institution. We continue to move on that vein because it appears also that the federal government has increased the pace of detainers that again had been fairly stagnant over so many years. So we're going to continue to move. Again, bottom line for me is ensuring the safety of the people of Guam. Obviously, I want to take pressures off the prison to lower the prison population. There is an economic rationale for that as well. But most importantly, is keeping all the people of Guam safe. And obviously, if a criminal whose sentence commuted departs the island of Guam, then one thing is for sure, that person, whatever harm they did, they will not do any harm. No harm to any Chamorro, any Chuukese, any Palawan, any Korean, any statesider, any tourist, etc., etc. So I'm finally, at least if there's anything to look at, finally the folks that should have done something are doing something, and they're listening. I'm glad to see what I'm seeing from the federal government, but I'm deeply disappointed from the actions of the Federated States of Micronesia officials.
Just to be clear, the FSM, are they flat out saying no more, or are they just kind of putting more regulations? Or more
Like I said, there was, when the practice of identifying citizenship, and now these questions that are asked, there is no correlation. They have put in what I can see bureaucratic red tape to either slow down the process or stop it. And I assure you, it ain't going to stop it from my side. You know, one of the things that is so important, I take pride in Guam as an island and our people, because we are a welcoming community. We are a welcoming society. We have so many immigrants that have come here and have contributed to the building of this island. Countless, thousands and thousands of immigrants, and from the FSM, whether you're Pohnpeian or Chuukese or Yapese or Koshrayan, or from whatever part of FSM, thousands have come here and made a good life for themselves, for their families, and for our island. And you know what the people of Guam have done in their times of need? And I'll give you examples. While richer states like Hawaii cuts back on their medically indigent program and not allowing immigrants to utilize these services, that has never been a question with any senator or any governor. We are going to continue to provide these top quality health services to our FSAS brothers and sisters, just because that's how we are. When Typhoon Dolphin hit this island, and 90% of those who were homeless were FAS citizens, while FEMA stood back and said, "I'm sorry, we cannot help." It was the people of Guam and the taxpayers of Guam that rallied to their rescue in trying to get them the tents, the necessary, not only shelter, but food and health care, while the federal government shirked in their responsibility. As we institute programs now here in Guam to incorporate our young immigrants to the island, such as having them participate in AmeriCorps, it was the federal government that cut them out of AmeriCorps. I'm proud of Guam. I'm proud of the people of Guam. Because though we are an island that is at its base called Chamorro, what makes our island so special is for hundreds of years we have welcomed every race and every ethnicity, and they've come together to build this beautiful island. But sometimes, me being as governor, it appears that we're the only ones that seem to care. And again, when I look at the actions of the FSM government, and all the times I've met with them and asking them to work with me in helping the plight of those immigrants coming in, and seeing what we could do to build a better life for themselves, and at least if not from them, to help encourage the federal government. I've had a lot of nods, but I haven't seen any action. At the same time, from the federal government, the countless times that I've asked them for support to help those hardworking immigrants that come to this island, to see what services that could be provided to help with the compact impact. I get that nod and saying, we'd like to, but they never did. And that's why I take a lot of pride in our people. That's why I'm shocked. I'm absolutely shocked. I've known some of the leaders, and I've worked with the leaders from the different countries, and our island brothers and sisters. And for me, I consider it an insult. The island that is most affected by this immigration, both positive and sometimes the negative sides, such as this criminal element, is Guam. And for them to say, a speaker of a Senate there to say that this is not Hagatnya, this is not the concern of the people of Guam, it's between the capital of SFM and the capital of the United States. For a fellow islander, I take that with a great deal of disappointment, because obviously they don't seem to have as much concern for their own brethren as the people of Guam. And I'm hopeful that as we move forward, that we can deal with issues, and not just with the criminal element that I believe should be deported, but also with those that are trying to find a better life for themselves here, to get help from the FSM government, to get help from Washington, D.C., to assist the people of Guam, who at this point have been the only ones for these immigrants coming into Guam.
Okay.